Yes, so here we are coming together. Let's see, November the 30th. This is the last day of November in the year 2022. And I am so excited to see that we're about to come to the completion of this year because I know what's coming. I know in my heart of hearts, I know that this beautiful planet of ours, oh my gosh, makes me want to cry, is ascending into its own personal transformation. This earth is tired of being trampled on. This earth is ready to express itself in its glory, to give us abundance, more abundance of fruit, more abundance of clean water and clean air. This planet really, truly has not shown us its glory yet because we've not been able to accept her glory, because we didn't accept our glory. As within, so without. Everything is a reflection. So this planet is consciousness. It's God. God is the planet. We are the planet is us. All of it is in this oneness, this consciousness that we all share, the substance, the intelligence that knows itself as all that is, can't help but love everything, because if everything emanates from it, it's everything. It is it. There's just nothing else. Course in Miracles is really clear with us. It tells us that God is. There's just nothing else. God is. And when we can sit with the awareness that if God is, and God is everything, and we're part of that allness, then we must also be made of God. And if we're made of God, then that intelligence already knows who we are, what we're here for. Our work is to stop blocking that awareness. Our work is to allow ourselves to be humble enough to accept what God has prepared us for. And today we're going to do a continuation of lesson that we started last week, lesson 186. And the title of that lesson is Salvation of the World Depends on Me. Now, to the ego, it can take it in one of two ways. It can be, I'm in charge of the salvation of the world. The bully in the ego is going to say, I get to make it how I want to make it. I get to control it. I decide, which is a projection of our justice system. I decide who's guilty and who's not. I decide who goes and who comes. I decide who's up and who's down, because the ego thinking I'm in charge of this world is a block to God's plan for this world. Well, clearly you can tell my voice is not fully back yet. For those of you who might not know, who may be watching this for the first time, this is not my normal voice, but I have been entering into a process of losing my voice so that I can sit with God and find out what God wants from me. What is this here to teach me? As we know in A Course in Miracles, everything is a lesson God would have us learn. And what has come to me is that God is letting me know my voice has to be done. My ego's voice, Laina's personal voice, has to be done. It is time for my voice to be 100% God's voice through me. I must become a vessel that everything that comes out of my mouth. And when I say God speaking through me, it's very simple. Everything has to be true, has to be loving, has to come from a heart of peace, has to be trusting. It has to be joyful. It has to be gentle. It has to be open-minded and tolerant and defenseless. It has to be what Christ consciousness is all about. I need to speak because I can, exactly as Jesus spoke 2,000 years ago, simply telling the truth of who we are. We and the Father, Mother, God are one. We and the Father, Mother, God are one. We are the planet. We are the stars, the moon. We're everything. Everything is who we are. We must come to the place of recognizing that we're made of the same energy. And the energy is just, it can't just be destroyed. So I'm breathing in what appears to be you. You're breathing in what appears to be me. The molecules are all mixed in. We drink the water. I mean, we drink in water. We eliminate water. It goes back out. It recirculates. We drink it again. The tears that you cry are the tears that flow into the ocean, and they come back in and then quench your thirst. There is a circulation. There is a oneness that is absolutely undeniable, except to the ego. So when we hear salvation of the world depends on me, the ego in the bully side, because as I've said, ego shows up and has two sides of the same coin. The bully, the know-it-all, the righteous one that dictates how things should be, the controller. And there's the victim side. For me, I can't believe that. Oh, the salvation of the world depends on me. Oh no, I can't do it. I don't know how to. I'm just me. I'm just a small person. I'm just a woman. I'm just a man. I'm just a child. I'm just, I'm just black. I'm just white. I'm just green. When the ego starts telling us its opinions about saving the world, it's going to do only two things because it comes from those two sides. It's either going to, as the bully, try to get something, get it from somebody else, because if I'm in charge of the world and I got to get mine, I'm in charge. So I'm on top of the pyramid. So I get to benefit. And when I get it, I'm going to protect it. I'm going to control things. It's mine. Or the victim goes into, oh, I don't deserve anything. Oh my gosh, there's just never enough. There's not enough. They got more and I didn't get it. And what am I going to do? How can the world depends on me. I have nothing to give. It's this pitifulness that is ignorance. And by the way, when you are committed that you're a victim, you're quite arrogant because you have to be right. I am right. They hurt me. They did this to me. I am a victim of my circumstances. I had nothing to do with it. Well, ignorance, because guess what? You're not aware. In that moment, you're not aware. Yeah, you're the one who created this reality. And arrogance, I can't change it. Oh, I can't change it. Well, that's an arrogance that puts us in a righteous place. God can't speak to somebody who is right about their opinion. The bully, same thing. Ignorant that we're all equal. There's no hierarchy. There's no higher and lower. There's no lack. You don't get more than anybody else. And there's also arrogance. I'm special and you're not. So once we begin to understand the way the ego operates and we keep things super simple, is it love or is it fear? Is it expansive or contracted? Is it connecting us or does it separate us? So simple. Are you at peace or are you in unease? And unease turns into dis-ease. So you could say, this dis-ease that I'm experiencing is in this inability to speak is nothing more than a time for me to sit down. Okay, what is the lesson I need to learn? Well, when my ego talks, and even though it doesn't talk as much as it used to, because I have made a decision, I have made an informed decision to align only with God's word. So I already have, for the past 2 decades of being on my journey, let go of needing to be right according to my ego. Now, I only want to be right according to God, but when I'm right according to God, I don't need to be righteous because I know the truth. I don't have to defend it. I don't need to convince anybody of it. I just am it. I walk it, I breathe it, I drink it, and I share it from a place of knowing that I don't have to be concerned about what anybody else thinks, because my only concern is what God knows is true about me. And when I accept how God has created me, then salvation of the world, depending on me, is obvious. The salvation of the world is simply, in simple terms, this is not a Christian understanding of salvation. Salvation means you spare the world your ego's bullshit. You spare the world what is not true. You save the world by seeing it for what it is. Beings, a planet, all God, either in a state of remembrance or forgetfulness. That's all there is. One or the other. You can't have both. Now we move between one and the other, but once you ground yourself in remembering the truth of who you are, then you know, because this is part of the ignorance we got to get over. Once you make a decision to align with only God, then you know you always have access to the source of all knowing. You don't need to know it all. As a matter of fact, you don't want to know it all. We all go through a process when we are aligning with God's truth where you kind of think you have Alzheimer's, because you start forgetting things. And you start forgetting things because you stop regurgitating in your head the same nonsense. And once you're not repeating what happened 3 years ago, once you're not repeating what happened 30 years ago, once you're not worried about what happens tomorrow, the mind gets quiet. For a while, it appears, oh my God, I'm forgetting. But yeah, you're forgetting. You're letting the useless stuff settle. You don't need to regurgitate it. But when you need access to it, you just say, okay, Holy Spirit, God, source, whatever you want to call it, pull up the memory of that time that I was at that I went to that place, and help me remember, what was it about it that I liked? I want to recreate some of that. And then all of a sudden the memories come back because you invite them in. It's like a photo album that when you want to remember something, you go get the photo album, you look at it and you see the photos and it reminds you of things, and you put the album away. You don't walk around looking at the album all day, remembering every single situation, every single aspect of everything that happened in that place or that year or that decade. But that's what the ego does, constantly rehashing everything that has happened that it can get juice from. It remembers what hurt it so that it can plot to protect itself in the future. It remembers what made it good, what made it happy, so that it can plot to get more of that in the future. Never living in the now moment. When you're in the now moment, head's quiet. There's not a whole lot going on there. And while you are moving through that stage, yeah, it can be really scary. But that's how we save the world. We spare the world our opinions. We keep the world pure and innocent, and we meet everything in a now moment. And we allow for people to be different. The ego, when it sees somebody hasn't seen in 5 years, it remembers what that person did 5 years ago. It's going to let that person know what you did to me, or I'm going to protect myself because of what you did. Or I'm going to ask you, hey, how did that thing go? Immediately goes to the past because the ego doesn't know how to be in the present. And if you have an opinion about that that's not favorable, your life is going to be dictated. Oh, I'm going to avoid that person. Oh, they're coming down, down the road. I'm going to jump to the other side of the road. I'm going to stay away from them as much as possible. And then we'll get on the phone and we start calling everybody. Oh my God, did you see blah, blah, blah just came to town? Can you believe how dare they show their face here? We all remember what they did 10 years ago. We all remember what they did 20 years ago. So we're ready to crucify anybody that the ego has judged did us wrong. Well, that doesn't save the world. That condemns the world. It keeps the condemnation going because the judgments don't stop when the ego is active. So this lesson 186, and we read it right before Thanksgiving last week, which was just a wonderful reminder to enter into Thanksgiving, just facing the people that are before you without a history of them so that they could be new to you. You save them, you spare them your opinions of them, and you let them inform you who are they in that moment. They can be fresh and new in that moment, but not if the ego already has an opinion about them. If the ego has pegged them, this is who you are, by gosh, they'll continue to be that in your mind. They may no longer be that. They may have done that before. They may have had a journey. Maybe they've repented and maybe they've forgiven themselves. They're not that person. But if in your mind you see them as that, you imprison them in a box, and they then have to be that to you, but only to you. That's how you condemn the world, when you overlay your perception about how things are based on the past. So as we get ready to read continuation in this lesson, I want to read the first paragraph. Last week, we only got through the first paragraph because it was so rich, so amazing. But I'm going to read the whole paragraph pretty much all the way through, and we will come back to start paragraph 2, and then we'll detail it. But here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. You're here to save the world according to God's plan, not yours. Let go of the arrogance. You cannot save the world with your ego, because the ego only condemns the world. Can't have both. Here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own, but that which has been given you. Salvation of the world depends on me according to God's will. I'm humble. I cannot know what is best for the world. That's true humility. When I am arrogant, I know what the world needs now. Sure, the song is beautiful. Love, sweet love. Absolutely. But when you think that you know what's best for the world and you attempt to go make that happen, that's arrogance, because it doesn't leave room for God's will. It offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. And once you know what God wants you to do, be loving, trusting, gentle, generous, defenseless, open-minded, tolerant, joyful. Once you know that that's what God wants you to do, because that's the only thing that's going to make you happy, being who you are, then why would you want to come up with another idea? Why would you want to say, well, I get to judge the world? God didn't assign judgment to you. Why do you want to judge the world? God did not assign righteousness to you. Why do you need to be right about what's happening in the world? And talk about what's wrong in the world? So it offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. Salvation of the world depends on me. God, how do you want me to do it? Learn God's word. Study the teachings that Jesus is giving us. Find out exactly how love shows up, and then you show up as that. Boom, done. That's how you save the world. It does not judge your proper role. It but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. We're talking about bringing heaven to earth. This new earth that we're co-creating, it's about bringing heaven to earth. How does that happen? You must become the light of the world. You cannot have your own opinion. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring it to heaven's peace. When you accept your plan, you're part of the plan, and you accept that it's God's plan, and you want to find out what is God's plan, and then you play your part in God's plan, we restore heaven to earth. We have lost heaven because our minds have been polluted with hell. Our minds are so filled with judgments, with hatred, with jealousy, with revenge, with mean-spiritedness, with separation, with divisiveness, with hierarchies, with corruption. That's what corruption is. It's a mind that is no longer thinking with God, but it has totally, completely been taken over by a tyrant. The tyrant is the ego, believing its own thoughts and ideas and totally, completely ignoring God's. Well, we're done with that. We're done with that for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Because those who understand the truth, we want to be participants in the co-creation of the new earth. We want to bring to this new earth the truth that we know is true always. We are showing up as the change we want to see in the world. Our kindness, our gentleness begins to be an example for anybody to see. Once you move past the spiritualized ego, oh, look at me, I'm so spiritual. Yes, I'm going to forgive you because you don't know about true forgiveness, but I do. I'm going to forgive you, but I don't want to see you again. Well, spiritualized ego. Well, I know the truth, and it's only this truth from this book, from this community, from this person. The spiritualized ego is a stage we all have to go through, because really what's happening is our mind is being filled with truth, and then the ego latches onto it, and then it talks it. But to walk it is to become humble, is to drop yourself from that know-it-all, righteous, egoic, spiritual self, and to walk among the people as one with all that is, as Jesus did. You're not better, you're not lesser. I mean, we're watching the news today. We're watching this stuff unfolding with this designer called Balenciaga that is advertising things that show clearly their allegiance to the ego, because They believe in the abuse of children. They're promoting it plain to see, the abuse of children. Well, you know what? Jesus didn't wear designer garments. How many of us think that we need to go get this designer stuff to make us somebody? Well, we've all been brainwashed into this hierarchy. Oh, the designers, they're the top and we're willing to spend so much money and we are willing to do whatever it takes to have that. We've been idolizing people, clothing, cars, money, jobs, situations, cars, buildings, all of these things, deciding that, well, when I have that, I'm really somebody. Because we've all been conditioned out of the truth of who we are. That is very simple. We're all equal. We're all equal. You want to wear designer clothes, wear designer clothes. Doesn't make you better or lesser than anybody else. And when we understand our equality, we begin to realize, well, why would I pay a company who promotes things that are hurting the children of the world? How can I save the world? Well, in practical terms today, the salvation of the world depends on you. You begin to see those things because we have to operate from the level of consciousness that we're at. You see the things out there in the world that you say that's not okay. And you begin to pull your money away because in this world, we use money as a form of power. And of course, those who have the most think that they have the most power over everybody else. So you begin to withdraw the money. You begin to sit, God, what would you have me do? And you may hear, no, but let's pull our money from that. Let's not support that. Maybe you're inspired to share that on your Facebook page. Look at this thing that's happening. That's so much of what's been happening to me, really. These COVID years have been a fascinating time for me of pulling in. I have not been as visible out there. Well, partly because I've been censored so much on Facebook. When I post anything that has any substance, hardly anybody ever sees it. People just look at my pictures with my grandbaby, which is perfectly okay. Or if I'm doing a birthday celebration. But when I post things that have profound messages, I get 1-2 people who see them. Because if you don't go to my page to look for that, you won't find it because Facebook, social media, much of it has algorithms that are censored, that are manipulated, because we live in a world that the ego has made. When you look at the Course in Miracles, it is divided into 2 parts. I'm not talking about the book itself. Let me be specific. There are in a typical Course in Miracles, especially the newer editions, you have 3 books in one. You have the text, you have the lessons, and then you have the workbook, the manual for teachers. So really it's like 3. And then some have some additional things added to the back. But in the text, it's divided into 2 parts. When you look at the text, it's very clear. First, we're learning about the ego and the world that the ego has made. You begin to understand that the ego has projected out there all that is dark within itself, all that is divisive. The old earth that is crumbling is the work of the ego. The ego has projected hierarchy, jealousy, abuse, righteousness. Some deserve, others don't. This judgment that has given way to separation, that has given way to pyramids. If you're at the top, you are special. If you're at the bottom, you're not. Well, the second part of the text is about hearing the Holy Spirit's voice, realizing that we can create a happy dream, that while we are believing that we are separate bodies walking upon this planet, we're really in a dream. But when we're operating with the ego, it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. For some people, the dream is somewhat nice. You meet somebody, some people stay with that partner for the rest of their lives. Maybe they have a job that they liked and they work and they make enough money and they have a pension and life is pretty balanced. Well, they would probably say that's a pretty happy dream. But no one escapes what's happening in the world. No one escapes that here bodies come to be born and die. That's what the ego does. Birth and death. That's its focus. Birth and death. I'm going to incarnate in a body and I'm going to have a short period of time to be miserable in, and I'm going to try to become somebody, and then I'm going to die. Well, Course in Miracles is telling us you're not just a body. As a matter of fact, Course in Miracles tells you you're not a body. You're free to be anything you want to be. But we chose to have a physical vessel. So how do we use that physical vessel in the way God intended for us to use the physical vessel? It's about acknowledging that you are love, that you are as God created you. So we're co-creating a new earth. Those people who are interested in collaborating, coming together, talk about new ideas, new ways of doing things. That's what the new earth is all about. As a matter of fact, I've been co-creating with some friends, what we call the new earth co-creators, because it's creating a community of people who are going to talk about the new ways. We're going to share only what is possible in the new earth. We're not talking about the stuff that's crumbling. We're talking about what is it that we want to see arise and show itself and be part of the heaven on earth. So Course in Miracles is really clear. For you to be salvation of the world as God intended, you've got to see the crumbling world, acknowledge your part in it. Through your ignorance, you didn't know any different. And that's really what, when we talk about ignorance and arrogance, is that you didn't know. But the arrogance is to think that what is not true is true. So when you insist in being righteous about what you know and you're ignorant because you don't know, well, you can see how that gets you in trouble because you're being arrogant about misinformation. Have you seen people out there defending a position, righteous about it, and you know that they're totally incorrect? Well, that's arrogance of the ego. But we've all done that. We do it all the time when we insist in doing things our way, when we insist in being right, when we insist on controlling, when we insist that there's not enough money, when we insist that all the world's going to hell in a handbasket. We're being arrogant because we're insisting on something that we are ignorant about, because this world is only reflecting back to us our belief system. The new earth has to be created, co-created by people who believe in abundance, an abundance of joy, an abundance of truth, an abundance of assistance, help, generosity, helpfulness, so that we get our minds to open up to more possibilities. And in that infinite possibilities, the goal is not going to be about money. It won't be necessary, because when you know who you are and you're collaborating, the co-creation is bringing people together that are going to be manifesting what is necessary in a world that has plenty. There's plenty of food here. There's plenty for everybody. We will co-create the villages that the community with those who are talented in those skills will build, because they don't need to be paid for that. They will be receiving, do you have water? Do you have food? They'll be able to get their needs met. Do you make clothes? Oh, I need a new outfit. Go ahead and make me one. That's okay. But you need furniture. I'll make it for you. We're going to move back to a world of trading, a world of sharing, a world where we will not let a single person go hungry. We will not let a single person go without their needs met. We won't let a single person experience, going into sickness by themselves, going into homelessness. That's not going to be possible, because you will know oneness. Your home, you'll open it up and I have a spare room. Come on in. You're in transition. Okay, interesting that you're using your infinite possibilities to imagine not having a place to stay. You must have wanted to experience me opening up mine, because I'm generous. I'm practicing generosity. It's all going to be about supporting and loving one another. That's the happy dream that the Course in Miracles is promising is ours. Now, for that to be full blown out manifested, we got a couple of generations to get there, because we got too many people whose mind is in various stages of the journey, either stuck in the old. Well, they're going to have that experience and you're going to observe them because they're part of what appears to be our reality. Then there are those in various degrees of moving out of density and into the light. And wherever they are is called a journey. It's a bridge from the old to the new. And wherever we are, we just have to acknowledge that it just is what it is. And those who move to the other side, who fully embody the truth of who they are, who have become bringers of love and light and truth, we're finding each other. We're co-creating. We want to help each other because it's no longer done for personal gain. Our joy comes from the greater good of all. It's not possible to want to have personal self-gain at the cost to another. It's just not possible. That's the old way. So salvation of the world depends on me. If you want to be part of this heaven on earth, you have got to come to that frequency. You've got to get your mind to operate singularly God's way, to think God's thoughts, and then talk and walk the thoughts. You cannot just talk it. We do a lot of that on the bridge. We've got to walk it. So this section here, lesson 182, paragraph number 2 says, let us not fight our function. We have to surrender into it. That's what COVID has done for me. These last 2.5 years has been a surrendering. Things are what they are. My communities shifted. My business changed. My voice began to get quieter. I've had laryngitis a couple times in that period of time, and I probably hadn't had laryngitis maybe once my life before that. So for 58 years before that, maybe once. And now all of a sudden, in the last 2.5 years, multiple times, I'm getting the message. I got to silence my ego voice. So let us not fight our function. Surrender to the call to oneness. Surrender to the goodness. Surrender to being loving, to being kind. And it starts with you. You have to surrender to your goodness. You have to surrender to being the voice for God that speaks only what is beautiful, what is good, but is also not afraid to call out that which is not loving. We just, in a class Monday night, we talked about sternness. You have to be committed. No, that is not okay. This fashion company, Balenciaga, what you're doing is not okay. It is not okay to profit of making children appear to be victimized. That's not okay. Because if you're putting that in an advertisement, you're basically saying this is okay. And we're saying it is not. God's children are not to be harmed. It is our job to protect the children. Because as we protect the children out there, it's because we have come to protect the child within. Once you find your innocence and see how you victimized your own self by believing things that were not true, by believing that you were less than, that you were not worthy, not good enough, not special enough, not lovable. My gosh, the things that we believe because we got indoctrinated into those things. Well, it is not okay for Balenciaga to put out an ad saying that child is not lovable. It's okay for us to victimize it. It's okay for us to abuse it. That's not the message we're sending to that child. So the salvation of the world depends on me. Use your voice as God speaks through you. Not everybody is going to stand up and say that's not okay, but all of us have the ability to be loving and to desire only what is good and beautiful and holy for the planet. So if you're home or in your garden or in an ashram or in a monastery, just praying for the world, thank you. That's beautiful. That singular frequency of love emanating has been supporting humanity for thousands of years. We've had many monks, many nuns, many fathers, preachers connected to truth, just absolutely shining the light of truth and emanating that frequency for the planet. And inside of that frequency, many of us have been doing the work that needed to be done to find our voice so we could use it for God. And we're all going to use our voice in different ways. Just as some are going to use it in the medical field to bring about the medicine of the new earth, natural. Some are going to be using it in the political field to bring about true justice for our fellow brothers and sisters. To go back to constitutional teachings that were inspired, where all men are created equal, endowed with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Exactly what the Course in Miracles says is our our birthright. So as we use our voice to be a mother, to be a grandmother, to be a teacher in the school system that is of the new earth, that helps children remember the truth of who they are, that allows their inner teacher to come out. We don't shove stuff in their head like we did in the old world, like Balenciaga is trying to stuff into people's minds that children, it's okay to abuse them. Well, those days are over. The days that are coming because they are a co-creation of those who are saying, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. God inspires us, and then we co-create and come together in the co-creation of a new earth. The financial systems are changing. We're seeing the corruption because of the systems that we had. We're going to move to a total new system that is absolutely transparent, that operates in a way that nobody can censor you. Nobody can dictate what is yours and what is not yours. You have what you have. Whatever it is that is part of your journey until we get to the place where we don't need that stuff anymore. Banks in the new earth, when we're totally 5D, we don't have banks. There's no money because your imagination creates manifestation instantaneously. You want to experience a mansion? Boom, it's there. And because your mind will project it. You know, those what do they call them? 3D printers are just a glimpse of what we're going to. The 3D printers, print the whole house, because they just drop in the substance that solidifies right before your eyes and prints the whole thing. Well, soon we don't need the printer. We're just going to imagine it. It's going to show up. You don't need money to buy anything when you're imagining it into manifestation. So we're moving to that. Until we get there, we're going to use money, but money is going to change. It's not going to be controlled by a few bankers. It's not going to be dictated by the government what you can use it for or not, or that what amount is okay for you to keep and what amount you got to give to them. All those things are going away. So the new earth is that we're co-creating right now. But you and I are on this planet is a new earth that is bridging us to the 5D world. And it's a new earth of collaboration, co-creation. Because when we collaborate, cooperate, co-create, we are always caring about the greater good for all. That's where giving and receiving becomes one. That's where gifting economies are really, truly going to take off. I've been part of that for a couple of years. And it's absolutely beautiful when it happens in co-creation. And, it's been fascinating to observe even that, how we got tainted with spiritualized egos, people talking the spiritual talk, but not walking it. And there are ways already I'm seeing communities. It's beautiful to watch communities that are growing food and they trade it with their neighbors like the old days. I've got corn. You got a cow. I need milk. You need corn. Let's swap. And we don't care. It's a corn worth more. Is the milk worth more? Who's controlling the worth? Who's controlling how it goes up and down? Who's deciding when we're going to have inflation that milk prices are going to go up, but the corn prices are going to stay down? And this person's going to be poor because, their corn's not worth so much. Those days are coming to an end. We are at the precipice of watching the old collapse, the new rise. Why? Because the salvation of the world depends on me. These lessons are so profound when you understand how they apply to today. Let me keep reading. So let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea that we operate in collaboration, co-creation, and cooperation. That's not our idea. That's God's idea. So we're letting go of my idea, victim bully, how I want it to happen. And we're allowing it to be organically happening with hearts that have opened up because we've done the work of questioning our thoughts, of releasing old pent-up emotions that were traumatic from experiences that we had in the old earth, where we were being conditioned to believe that we're not good enough, where we had parents who abused us mentally, physically, emotionally. We're healing all of that. We're releasing them. They didn't know what they were doing, forgiving them. We decide, okay, that's the way it was. Now I'm going to the new. You can't come to the new earth and bring baggage of the old. That's why you got to clear your thoughts and ideas. Your mind has to be quiet. You cannot be in co-creation of a new earth if your mind is full of old ideas. fears of the old happening again, fear of you being cheated, fear of somebody backstabbing you, fear of somebody taking your idea and stealing it. You can't steal an idea from that which is one. Oneness is oneness. We all get the same ideas, either we act on it or not. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. You know, God gave us the ability to be loving, to be kind, to be forgiving, to be compassionate, to be generous, to be open-minded. All you need to do is decide to be it. To be open-minded, listen. To be generous, give it. To be gentle, be compassionate, be loving. Listen with an open heart. Feel empathically. What is that person feeling? I too have experienced that. Maybe I haven't experienced that specifically, but if I were in their shoes, I may have that experience as well. So everything that God has given us is within us to be able to do. We've been given the means to accomplish what God has set us out to accomplish, to change our mind from greed, to change our thinking so that we can experience grace, to move out of lack into abundance, out of it's all about me to it's all about we. And it goes on to say, paragraph 2 still, sentence 5, all that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. You cannot go around saying, I am worth more than you. I am better than you. I get the ideas. I'm guided. God speaks to me, but not to you. That arrogance is becoming quite evident now because there are so many standing in the light and they can see that arrogance and go, bless your heart. You don't know your truth. Well, you certainly don't know mine if you're thinking you're the only one that has access to God. But you know what, sister? You know what, brother? If that's what you want to believe, it's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to hold the truth of our equality. And I'm not going to go into my mind and try to convince you and defend my position. I'm just going to watch you and enjoy the show. Okay, that's what you want to experience. Good for you. Karma is an equal opportunity balancer. If somebody's operating in low frequency, karma is going to bring the lessons that they need. Why? Because everything is a lesson God would have us learn. Once you learn that being nice, being joyful, being happy, being defenseless, being peaceful feels so much better, you don't have to learn lessons the hard way. Your lessons are easy. Your lessons are simple. There's an opportunity that shows up. You feel inside, does that feel peaceful? Yeah, that's my answer. That's a lesson. You know, if it feels peaceful, if it feels fun, yeah, go. But the ego, on the other hand, has to learn the hard way. Somebody brings you an idea. Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, but what if it doesn't work out? Then the ego kicks in. Well, what if it doesn't work out? Then you need to lesson the hard way. You need to miss out on that opportunity, find out that everybody else succeeded from it so that you can come back and go, oh, why didn't I have that? Well, because you let your ego talk you out of what your soul first said. That sounds exciting. We have all done that. Every marriage that we've entered, every relationship that we enter in, oh my God, I love this person. Really, the first one could have been the last one, but we didn't stay in love. We let ego pull us into fear. And then fear began to judge and fear began to focus on what was wrong. And we began to only notice what's not working for me. And then I'm right about what you're not doing. And you're not putting down the toilet seat and you're not putting the cap on the toothpaste. Or you didn't look at me the right way. You didn't say this the nice way. Oh, you're talking things that I can't handle. So you need to stop talking, controlling. Well, that's because we haven't accepted who we are. So our mind is easily swayed by the things of the world because we idolize so many things out there, false idols, and think, oh, well, you need to behave a certain way for me to be okay. That's a lie. You don't need to behave in any way to be okay. You're okay because God created you okay. And your peace needs to come from that awareness and embodiment of it. All right, we got to stop with that self-deceiving arrogance. Victims are so arrogant. I am not deserving. Because of what they did to me, I am not good enough. Now, I'm not talking about people not being victimized. Like that's not happening. It's happening. Children being abused. It's happening. People being incarcerated for things that they didn't do, or for maybe speaking their voice of the opposing party or the opposing persuasion, getting jailed. People in China, when you begin to look at some of the atrocities that happen through the world, you begin to realize, my God, these people get killed for having a different opinion. So I'm not saying that that's not happening. I'm saying it's happening. But your mind doesn't have to accept what is happening as making you less worthy. You can acknowledge my worth is what God gave me. I'm in the middle of this situation. I'm about to get killed. Jesus did it. I'm about to get crucified, but I'm going to forgive these people. They don't know what they're doing. I'm about to be, put in prison, or maybe I am in prison. Okay, this is what it is. God, give me the strength, the information, the knowledge. What do I need to do to work through this? God, please help me find the perfect attorney to help me with the situation. Make those funds available. And ideas begin to come together, because that's what co-creation is all about. People come together, crowdfund, raise the money, find the attorney, help you, get you out of jail. All the while you were in jail, you were just realizing, wow, I was in jail, but in my mind, I was free. That's real freedom. So some people are experiencing being in jail just to realize how free they really are, because their mind is not in prison. And most people are outside of prison, outside of the bars of prison, but imprisoned inside, because their mind is full of things that are not true. And they all lead to a lack of unworth deep down inside. Anybody who needs to take more than their fair share, and fair share is equal, anybody who has to hoard, I got to be the billionaire, is because they don't understand that they're already as abundant as they can be inside. Now, those who receive a ton of money and help, share, uplift the world, not these fake organizations that have been created to be promoting false charities. We're seeing a lot of that, aren't we? These beautiful charities that were used to funnel money, to launder money. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely amazing how creative the ego has been. But when you have an abundance and you want to help and share, nobody who's connected to source is willing to receive so much that others have so little. It's just not possible. There is an equalizing that happens when you recognize oneness, because you know everybody is worthy. Not that we have to go out and feed all the hungry. People want to be hungry and they want to stay hungry and they don't want to help themselves to the feast that you might be preparing, and they don't want to come and take that job that you might be offering, then that's their choice. We have to accept free will. But you won't deliberately put up obstacles in other people's ways. You won't want to block anybody, because then you have to learn through karma that blocks are going to be placed in your way, so that you can remember how uncomfortable it feels to have blocks. Everything becomes about recognizing the truth of who you are. Don't deceive yourself into thinking you're better because you know spirituality, but bring yourself into walking the talk and be the one that brings salvation to the world, because the world depends on us. We have to be examples, so that as many as are going to see that example and go, I want some of that, are invited into the journey across that bridge. Many on the bridge, people early on the bridge, they need to see the people ahead on the bridge, be embody, walk the talk. A lot of people on that bridge talk it. I did, until I had to go deeper to walk it. It's what happened when I was going through my divorce with my husband, Ken, and my son, Spencer, doing drugs. I had to make a decision to cross on that bridge. Instead of telling them how to be spiritual, I had to be the embodiment of spirit. Instead of telling them to, stop being fearful, I had to release my fears. So there is a process. And the more you embody being the one that knows that salvation of the world depends on you, is because you have stopped believing the lies. Now you save the world, because all you're doing is shining, being an example right in your circle, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your neighbor, whether it's with your cat, whether it's with your company or the organization that you're supporting. you are consistent no matter where you go, people will say, wow, that's a loving person. They're so kind. They're so generous. They're so open-minded. They sit and listen to me. They don't defend what they're saying. They don't try to make me feel bad for my different opinion. There's a consistency. And if you've got people who are saying, oh my gosh, here she comes again, all negative. Oh, there he goes again, judgmental. There she goes again, thinking she's so righteous. We're going to get a lecture. We just got the evil eye. It's because you're not walking the talk. So it becomes very evident when you're willing to ask people, well, what is your opinion of how I'm showing up in the world? And here's the thing. The lighter your bright gets, those who are further in the darkness think you're evil because your light is so shiny that they can't look at you. It's funny. But those who are on the bridge, you become an example for them that helps them, like a lighthouse, helps them come to the light side. Sentence 6 says, what is given us to do, we have the strength to do. This is one of those crazy excuses of the ego. I'm too tired. I don't have the energy. I don't have the strength. Well, it's because our bodies have been trained into complacency. Our bodies have been trained into atrophy. We don't exercise them as much. We don't utilize them for the good things. We tend to not understand that the body is a vessel. It's like a car that we travel in so that people can recognize us. Because if we came as our soul, nobody would see us. We'd be like Casper, the friendly ghost. We'd be invisible. So we need a body vessel that allows for a physical manifestation for a little while. In the 5D world, we're going to have light bodies. So we're not going to have density. But we are in the process of ascension. So our bodies have to be treated in accordance to our ascension path. For me, 3-4 years ago, it became clear you cannot eat meat. Is not for you. The density of meat wasn't compatible. I didn't go around like some of the vegetarian or vegan people. Oh, you can't kill animals. If you want to eat animals, it's okay. For me, it wasn't a match. And little by little, other things have been released very gently. Why? Because I have been doing what's been given me to do. I've been given to move. I've been given to change my diet. I've been given to start yoga, something that I never did before. Because we have the strength to do it, we're not asked to do anything that we're not capable of doing. And when you stretch yourself into, like for me, going into yoga, that was like a big stretch, literally and figuratively. I had to stretch myself because for years, yoga, that's so boring. I'm a dancer. I like spinning. I like moving. I like twirling. I like fast. I like from here to there. I don't want to sit on a mat for a whole hour. Now, leave the mat. No, you don't leave the mat. Well, I can't dance that way where I always stay in the same position, the same spot. And I realized, stretch my mind. Let me go outside of my judgments of yoga. And I found, wow, my body does all these different things. Because when I'm moving back and forth, I'm not focusing on some of the finer muscles. I'm not even aware of some of the things that are inside of my body because I'm working primarily with the bigger muscles in dance. But when I sit in yoga and we hold a pose for minutes, now I have to be quiet and I'm listening to my body talking to me. Oh, there's a tightness there. Oh, there's a pain there. Oh, there's some gas there. Let's let it move quietly, of course, because we don't want to disrupt everybody else in the yoga class. But you can feel what's happening in your body. I became so attuned to not going to yoga after I had eaten in the recent hours because it was uncomfortable. It hurt my stomach. And then I felt, oh, wow, that's not honoring the digestive process that's happening. All kinds of things get revealed through that process for me. So what is given us to do, we have the strength to do it. But you got to listen to what God tells you. Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. God knows us so well. I'm not a Bible person because I grew up Catholic and we didn't have a Bible. I just went to the sermons and heard stuff in Latin, and that was it. And then whatever my grandmother, the fears that my parents and grandparents instilled in me were from their mouths. They quoted the Bible, but I didn't know the Bible. But I do remember some things that got quoted. And I remember hearing, God knows every hair on your head. It's been counted. It's like, wow. Our minds are suited perfectly to take part assigned to us by one who knows us well. So if God only wants life, liberty, and happiness for me, why do I allow misery? Well, God knows that I'm suited for happiness. Why am I not doing the things that bring me joy? Why am I not doing the things that are exciting? Because I let the ego stop me. Because I need a block. I need a failure to show me I didn't listen. So why did I need those divorces? Because I needed to see how I was showing up in the world unavailable. So those marriages were no longer available to me. I had to clear myself up, become what God created me to be, and then take that into the world and whatever may be possible future relationship I might enter. I'm getting ready to move to Colorado, big move from Georgia to Colorado. I really know very few people there. I know my daughter and I know her husband and my grandbaby. That's why I'm moving there. Well, if I really tell you why I'm moving there, it's because God wants me there. My expansion is at the feet of my grandson. My grandson, Ryder, is a master. All children are masters. That's why we have to say no to the deliberate abuse of these children. They're all masters. We all come in as masters. And then we go through the education process, the indoctrination process, and get dumbed down into being slaves of the system. Now, from a higher perspective, it's all by choice. All by choice, because God didn't create us to suffer. So if we're suffering, it has to be by choice. You got to put two and two together. If God created you to experience eternal life, liberty, total free will, and happiness, and you choose misery and you choose death, it's by choice to not do what God wants you to do. So don't be blaming God. Don't be blaming anybody outside. Acknowledge that within you, you participated in the game of indoctrination. That's what this 3D world that the ego made is all about. Indoctrinate people and to see how long can we keep them slaves without them knowing it. But we're waking up and we're going, wait a second. If God created us equal to experience life, liberty, and happiness, then that's a path that I want to go on. Well, then the lessons are difficult when you're seeing how you blocked it, but easier when you flow with God's will for you. I want to get into paragraph 3. If you don't have time to stay, I totally get it. But I want to get to paragraph 3 because there's more things in here that are important for us to listen that ties into what we have just spoken about. But paragraph 3, today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. Yeah. What? Salvation of the world depends on me? Yeah, because the meaning is save yourself. Put that oxygen mask on you, save yourself so that you can become an example to the world. We're not necessarily going to go out there pulling people out of, burning buildings. Firefighters do that. That's what God inspires them to do. You don't have to go save the children and pull them out of the places that they're at. But if you use your voice and speak it to inform more people, you're participating in the salvation of the world. But do it in a loving way. Don't do it righteously. And I know what you're doing is wrong, because in a world of oneness, there is no possible wrong. It's only in the world of the ego that there's right or wrong. We're moving to neutrality. There's contraction, which feels uncomfortable, and there's expansion, which feels wonderful. So if you speak to the fact that it's not okay to abuse a child, you are standing as there's another way. We don't have to abuse these children. There's another way. We don't have to contract them. Let's help them be expansive. And then wait for God to inspire you in your role in all of this. But your observance of what the ego has done and deny its power and use your voice to deny its power. No, That's not the kind of world that we're going to participate in. And then walk your talk. If you're inspired to call a politician and speak about this so that it's investigative, you're inspired to be one that runs for politics. If you're inspired to send money, if you're inspired into prayer, be part of the solution. Be part of the solution, because your happiness depends on you doing what you were sent to do. And you have the strength to do it because the one who sent you to do it gave you the strength to do it with. So today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. All it says is that your Father still remembers you and offers you the perfect trust he holds in you, who is his son, his daughter, her daughter, if you want to look at it that way. Father, Mother, God, all is one. So that means if we're hearing, oh, salvation depends on me, and you think I'm a frail 85-year-old person, I don't have the power. No, if you're hearing that message, it's because God knows. God trusts you to do your part. God trusts you to be able to utilize your mind to get yourself straight internally. Let go of all the lies. Let go of all the blocks. Find your truth and embody it. Because you can be a 89, 90, 100-year-old person, still be lovely and gentle and kind and generous. So we are expected to do what God knows we can do. That's part of the arrogance that says, well, that's what, my calling, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. Yeah, God created us equal. And it's even in the Constitution for the United States that all people are equal. But you know what? I'm the president. And if I don't want to see you as equal, then I'm going to judge you unequal. Oh, God created us equal to experience life, liberty, and happiness. And the Constitution, our founding documents, founding father said that the government's supposed to make sure that we're safe and happy. Go read it. It's there. And if we don't do that, they can abolish us. I'm going to scare them to death. I'm going to take away their guns so they can't come and abolish this, because I like being in charge, because we're not equal. You see how all this stuff got all messed up? And we bought into that. We bought into that. But God trusts that we can get out of that. Why? Because God sent one of its children in the form of Jesus to show us that we need to get over ourselves. We need to allow ourselves to crucify our idea of our body. Stop being in fear that I'm going to die, fear that I'm going to go to prison, fear that I'm going to go hungry. Stop living in that fear that gives rise to the idea of victims and bullies. Because if you're not in that fear, then what Jesus taught was about the resurrection. You allow the truth of who you are to be resurrected. You allow the essence of the creative source of all that is to come forward through you to utilize your body in service to humanity. And again, service doesn't mean that you have to go do things you may not want to do. If you don't want to do them, check in. Do you not want to do them because you're resisting, or do you not want to do them because it's not for you to do? And we all have different roles. 8 billion people on the planet. We're not all going to do the same thing. But be humble. Come inside. God, what's my part in the salvation of the world? Because that world depends on me showing up as a light. How else can they see if I don't shine my light so that there's light for others to see the way? So much is happening in this world because we have forgotten that we were made for this, especially here at this time, to be contributors in the movement towards the new earth, to be participants in the co-creation of a happy dream. We matter because God knows our worth. God knows it can trust us. Can we trust ourselves? Not until we learn to trust God. It does not ask, God does not ask that you be different in any way from what you are. You know your likes and dislikes. You know your preferences. You're not being asked to do anything that doesn't feel good to you. But you are asked to align with that part in you that feels good, so that good is all that you can extend to this world. Because until what feels good is being humble, being gentle, being generous, trusting, being peaceful, being open-minded, until that feels good and natural to you, you're operating with conditioning that has you not feel good listening to other people, meaning you need to feel good only when you're right. So there's a lot of work that takes place in the purification process of purifying us, sending us through the fire that purifies us, that dark night of the soul that has all of these beliefs, these ideas, these shortcomings, these indoctrination that make us think that we're not good enough. I mean, depression is nothing more than we have pressed down the truth of who we are, that we can't even feel the essence of who we are within us. So we got to go through processes to remove all of that weight. And the weight is always thoughts in our head, emotions that we hold on to. It does not ask that you be different in any way from what you are. What could humility request but this? And what could arrogance deny but this? See, humility says, I'm humble enough to know I don't know it all. God, what do I need to know? And we got to let go of this arrogance that says that, oh, okay, I know what God said, and I know what God said, and I will tell you what God said, and you be God, but not, you have to behave like God wants you to behave. I don't have to. That's called dictators. That's called tyranny. False idols that we have worshiped. Today, we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call for God himself. Don't be modest about your worth. Don't be modest. Own it. Own it because it's what you are. God trusts us, gave us assignments that we can accomplish. God knows that we're capable of all of the characteristics of a teacher of God. That's why they were given to us, and we all have them in us. But it's our job through free will. We have liberty to do God's will. But while you're doing the ego's will, you're contributing to the co-creation of the old earth, keeping it alive. But the more you decide to move to the co-creation of the new earth, you have to let go of your ideas. You've got to humble yourself and go into, I don't know what anything is for. God, what would you have me do? You open yourself up. You're inspired to paint, go paint. Something's going to come through the painting. You're inspired to garden, go garden. Something's going to come through the gardening. You're inspired to go fix a hole in the wall, go do it. Stop the complaining, stop the judging, stop the fear. Because all of those things are ignorant and arrogant, and they block our humility. But once you enter into humility, you actually begin to feel the Christ consciousness in you. First 30 years of Jesus's life, he was a rebel. When you listen to the channeled information, he was a rebel, turning the tables, saying, no, this is not okay. We are not going to rip people off. We're not going to tax them like that. We're not going to charge interest like that. That's not okay. It's not okay to abuse God's children, be it through the money changers or through the pedophiles. It's not okay. So there is a part of us that needs to be stern about what we stand for, or we'll fall for anything. So own your worth and then put it in service to God. Own your goodness and put it in service to healing the world. Why? Because salvation of the world depends on you. With that, we completed paragraph 3. Great place to complete. We'll pick up next week. Paragraph 4. This doesn't have that many paragraphs. Oh, actually, this is quite long. 2.5 pages. Well worth it. So I would love to hear from you. Did you get any nuggets from this conversation today? I really want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
mean, it's always pointing to the same truth. And this certainly did. I mean, acknowledge, it's like, I was also interested when you talked about A Course in Miracles had two parts. And so I hadn't thought of it like that. And that was very interesting.
Yeah, because it teaches us about what the ego does, and it teaches us the voice of God, so that we have the contrast. So it lays it out like that. So see what the ego has done, what we've allowed the ego to do to the world, and then what kind of a world we would experience if we allow the Holy Spirit to lead.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was about surrendering to knowing that you are the salvation. So, or that I am the salvation. We're all the salvation of the world, which is a pretty it's kind of it's a neat responsibility in a way, as long as I or anyone can get, past the ego, which is a huge, and you talked about, depression a second ago. What did you say? Depression is well, I know it.
Truth has been pressed down so far inside of us that we can't even hear our worth. We cannot even hear our joy, because we have so many layers of fears pressing down our truth.
Yeah. Well, I can relate to that. And what I'm going to say is that I'm beginning to feel better. And I don't know if you can tell it, but I am feeling better. And so it's allowing me to laugh more and just not be so indecisive. Yeah. I mean, I'll have to own it. I'm not perfectly where I'm going to.
Not because God created you that way. God created you very clear and decisive. Indecisiveness is just what you're playing with. You're just playing. You're enjoying at some level. You're enjoying being undecisive. There's got to be a benefit to it. So, whether it's to get people to say, oh, come on, stop it, and get attention, or to keep you from using your voice because there's still a fear that your voice is clear and it's decisive and that you know what's best. All of those are ways that we block the fact that God trusts us. We're here on a mission, and the mission is to be clear, decisive, loving, gentle, all of those things. So if we're not being that, it's because we're wanting to play, to dabble in what we're not. But don't judge yourself. Just question everything that you do until such time that you come back to full center.
Well, what's happening is I'm being very gentle with people, very, very, very loving, and and I just in ways that just it seems like insignificant ways, but it's not.
Absolutely.
It's important. So I'm definitely being very loving and I'm trying to be more open-minded. That's an area that probably I need to open my mind, which I feel like I'm doing too. So anyway, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I'm getting this, and I love this.
Now, the gentleness towards others is because you're being gentle with yourself. And the open-minded towards others is because you're open-minded with yourself, which means you're willing to question everything. To be open-minded is to be willing to hear everything. So when we're open to hear all the different ways, then in gentleness, we will only do the one that feels right. But the ego says, oh no, if I open my mind, if I begin to question my Indecisiveness. Oh, no, 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 no. That I'm indecisive. That's how I've been always. That the ego's, you're not being open-minded to hear all the different ways that indecisive is a block. I mean, that's just a simple example. But if you are willing to go, so I call myself indecisive, but God created me actually quite clear. What's the block? So where am I indecisive? Take an inventory of indecisiveness. Look at patterns. Are you indecisive only around food? Are you indecisive only around money matters? Are you indecisive only around people issues? Are you indecisive only in the morning? Are you indecisive only, on Saturdays? Look for patterns so that you can begin to see, where's the ego actively blocking me from my certainty? And you will just find program beliefs, ideas that have us be, we were trained, women shouldn't be decisive. Women should know things. And that has given a lot of us permission to be undecided. Oh, I can't make a decision. Husband, you do it, or mom, you do it. So all those things are ingrained at different levels of density, some more than others. And then you can contrast that. Well, let me see, where was I decisive? I was decisive about this. Okay, so I can be decisive, but I'm not decisive about this. And then begin to gently be open-minded and question, why am I undecisive about this? And the information will come up, because God wants you to release the blocks to its purpose for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
Totally. Because you've been very decisive about understanding your mind. You've been very decisive about your path with God. I haven't seen you ever waver as long as we've known each other. You've been coming to my classes, what, 7 years, 8 years?
At least somewhere in there.
You have not wavered. So your decisiveness about following a path of truth is very evident to all of us who have known you all that time and have been on this journey with you. So your decisiveness is there. The indecisiveness is situational, and then you can begin to change it. You can begin to shift it. But they're all going to be attached to a belief that you need to bring to the surface, because we're at the time where everything that is unlike love, everything that is not God's plan, must arise for release.
I like that. I'm going to write that down.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Laina.
Of course. Does anybody else want to share what you might have gotten from this? If not, we will complete today's transmission. I love it when, can you feel, the Holy Spirit just takes over? It's just fun. It's fun.
Would you repeat that?
I really appreciated Kat's comment, because I could relate to it in so many ways. So thank you, Kat.
You're welcome, darling. Love you.
Oh, what a beautiful community. All right, beautiful beings of love and light. These messages are posted in my business Facebook page, Laina Orlando Awareness Coach. And also they're in my YouTube, in the playlist, Ascension with A Course in Miracles. So you can find them in those two places. We do these transmissions every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday. Every now and again, we miss one at noon. And if you find that this helps you, by all means, share it with others, please. So appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts and your comments and your nuggets. And anybody who wasn't able to share, that's okay. Your presence is all that matters. All right, everybody.
But Laina, that sentence, I was going to write it down, and then I started listening to you talk and I didn't write it down. Could you concise that so I could write it down?
Well, I don't remember exactly what it was, because it's just in the moment.
Okay.
But it was that we have to see everything that is unlike love so that we can release it.
Okay.
If it's blocking us, we have to be aware of it and release it. That's what heals us. That's why inquiry of what is unlike God has to become primary, so we can find these beliefs that hold us in old frequency. At least
Okay.
you know it's in the last 5 minutes of the.
Yes. That's okay. I mean, I got it anyway, but sort of, kind of, you know, but I did. No, I'm so smart.
You are. All right. I love you all so much.
Love you too. Love you, Laina. Thank you. Love you, Dondra.
Love fest.